Okay. So good morning for everybody. So it's not here in our um I'd like to say that hello everybody and good afternoon. It's a truly pleasure to welcome you all in the fifth TEYL SIG event. We are delighted to see so many passionate educators, researchers, and practitioners joining us today. Each of you actually um, committed to shape the meaningful English learning experience for young learners. And today's webinar brings together inspiring ideas, practical insights, and innovative classroom approaches that can empower us to better meet the needs of our learners. Whether you are here to share the expertise, exchange experiences, or simply learn something new, we hope this platform and this webinar offer you a valuable moments of connection and inspiration. On behalf of Nile TESL, TEYL SEG, I extend my deepest gratitude to our distinguished speaker, Nives Torresi,
Thank you.
enthusiastic participants, and our volunteer, Dr. Wala Salim, whose efforts are made this event possible. Thank you for your commitment and for supporting young learners, for being part of the vibrant professional family. Again, we'd like to introduce the board's director of the Nile TESL. Meet our Nile TESL president, Dr. Basma Da and Dr. Magid Habashi, the AUC School of Continuing Education. Meet also our co-chairs of the Nile TESOL SEC committee, Dr. Amir Arfin and Dr. Amani Safwat. And today, Ms. Nives Torresi will produce here a topic about young readers, big dreams, nurturing minds through life stories. And I would like to introduce Nives here to you. She based in Italy, Australia. So she's not a translator and interpreter with expertise in medical, historical, and business texts, but also a versatile English language professional. Her teaching experience spans multiple contexts. She works with Pegasus, one languages as an online instructor, teaches business English and ESP as treasury Technical Institute, and leads English conversation, drama, and Cambridge exam preparation classes in classical studies high school. Wow. She is actively involved in international collaboration, meaning both Erasmus and e-twinning projects dedicated to continuous development. Nevis frequently joins training initiatives, including models for teachers, teaching with technology, and TESOL EVO. Um, Okay, she presented fruitful topic at MMVC Model Mood Virtual Conference 25, and her topic was wonderful and really insightful and fruitful. So please join me and welcome Nivis. Hello, Nivis. You can just yes, hello dear. You can yes share your PPT with us.
I'm about to do that right now.
Yeah, that's great.
So, okay, so just let me find where you are again, because what happens when I share the screen? I don't see anyone anymore. Here we go. All right, now I have you.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I'd like to open the chat just before and put it over here. And that's it. Okay, so welcome everyone. I hope that thank you for
Yes.
everyone that's welcoming me in
Yes,
the
thank
chat.
you, Dr. Wala.
Um,
Yes. Dr. Wala, she's helping us today. She's the coordinator of LT SEG. Night
Wow.
TEYL also, yes, and she's helping us with the link and with everything behind the screen. So thank you, Dr. Wala, for being there with us. I do appreciate your wonderful collaboration.
Fantastic. It's really good to see everybody working together. This is the main and important thing that Dr. Nelly has taught me over the years, that it's really important to share
And
what
also there
our
is
own.
also Rana Shebl. Rana also is the EIE SIG coordinator, English for Inclusive Education at TESOL. She's always with me. She is always supporting us. So hello, Rana. I'm really happy to having you there with us. Thank you for
Fantastic.
being there, sweetie.
It's really nice to see so many people logged in today.
Yeah.
So, um, if it's ready, I'll go ahead and present. Or would you like me to wait a minute just in case someone else is coming in?
Okay, we can start and yeah,
Can you? Are you all are you all able to see my screen?
y-
Young readers, big dreams. Yes.
yeah. It's crystal clear. Yeah, we can see that.
Okay. So basically, my talk today is going to be about the importance of using reading to improve language. That specifically the second language in English in this case, because I'm an English teacher as well, teaching EFL or ESL. So English as a foreign language or English as a second language here in Italy. What I've noticed is that there's quite a big difference between teaching in a country like Australia, where English is the majority or the native tongue spoken throughout the country, and countries like Italy, where they teach it as a second or foreign language. And what has been happening is that students, especially here in Italy, this is my experience, that begin learning English from elementary school all the way through to high school, end up leaving high school with barely the minimum that they really need to be able to use English as a real language and to be able to use it academically correctly. And so this is where I think reading has been something that we have not taken care of enough when we teach English. I think reading has to be something that we promote from very young ages, especially to the young learners, because I found that they actually learn better when they themselves learn to read in that second language. Texts have to be easy, but not graded readers, and I'll explain why as we go along. So, basically my talk is about choice, creativity, and building confidence. So it's important that students have the choice. When I was at school in Australia, we had library time, which was a subject. And we went once a week to the library, chose a book to read, and then we shared that book with the rest of the class. We either shared it in a presentation or we just talked about it, but it was a moment where you could go into the library and there were books that were in a section for each age group, for example, and you could choose whatever you wanted, and it was really up to the librarian to help you understand if that book was fit or the right level for you. So this is the presentation for today. And what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about why reading today, how we actually do reading, the building blocks of reading, and the language use, where choice is important, also creative expression. How do we get to creative expression? And we need to understand how a child builds that creative expression through the imagination of being independent in that thought. So, and also cultural connections, because I think it's important nowadays, with even here in Italy, we have lots of multicultural classes, and it's really important to have those classes learn about each other rather than separate and not understand each other. So when you have a classroom, I had a classroom last year with 19 girls, at a second year high school, and this was just as a special year project, and they were from 10 different countries, and they were very separated as a group. So it was really important to get them to understand each other culturally and to accept each other as normal human beings rather than look at someone because of their color of the skin or because of the way um, they dress, etc. It was important to make them understand that it doesn't matter what color skin we have, how we dress. We are all human beings and we all have a right to our own culture and to experience that culture with others, to share that culture, because it's important to understand. When you understand someone's culture, then you understand the person and you make space for that person or that family to have their culture, which is something that in Australia we have because it's a multicultural community, and it's been like that for the last 200 years. So why read? Why is reading still important for us? Reading gives us, hello, thank you for welcoming me in the chat. Reading connects us to identity and imagination. So reading gives us an identity. How? By reading a book that we can identify with. So sometimes if, for example, my friend's daughter loves horses, so her mother is English like me, and we bought her books that were based on a story of a little girl who rode a horse in England, and she really enjoyed reading those books. And as a result, her English, before she even left elementary school, was way above the level for being a child that was born in Italy from an English mother and an Italian father, where 90% of the conversation that they listen to every day is in Italian. So this was a really remarkable event, and we understood that it's so important to get young readers to actually read something that they can identify themselves with. So whether it's riding horses, riding a bike, going on picnics, whatever. And it's a real reason to use the second language and to be able to understand that that second language that we're learning at school is not just grammar. It's not just homework. It's not just the teacher telling me what to do. It is the language that I can also use to dream in, to think in, to be a part of, to find an identity that's all my own. That's what we need to get children to do. It helps them to connect their own ideas, as in the horse riding championship. The young girl became a horse riding championship, by the way. It connects to our ideas, to other people, and to culture, which is really, really, really important. Reading also helps us to decode words and dream in another language. Now, I can't remember who it was that said this, but somebody famous once said that if you can dream in that second language, it means you have mastered that language. So that's where we want to get children to be. They want to be comfortable with that language, that they can also dream in that language. Perfect. Someone, Wala said that diversity is an amazing learning environment. That is exactly true. Exactly. I will tell you about the experience I had with those girls last year and how they then opened their arms to each other and became culturally aware of each other, which was really, really amazing. So, reading today, most of our students, especially the ones between, say, 9 and 15 years old, are reading from their tablets or their phones, and they're reading from social media. They're not really reading a book. It's not like they go to Kindle and download a book and they read a book on their phones. I found that this is almost impossible. I've never seen one of my students over 30 years that I've been teaching actually read a Kindle book on their phone, unless it's a how to do something. So I think it's really important that we get them to understand that what they're reading in the multi-screen world is instant content. Sometimes it's even AI content. And it can, although sometimes AI can be correct, but most of the time AI is making up information from what it takes from the internet. And also sometimes the work that we give our students is assigned. So we actually say to them, okay, go ahead and read this book, because, or go ahead and read the extract. We never give them a whole book here in Italy. I don't know if you do that in your country, but here in Italy, for example, the senior students that have to understand some of the classics in order to be able to write academically correct or write in academic English need to understand some of the classics. So in order for them to do enough classics over the final 2 years, we give them extracts from famous books rather than the whole book. Sometimes it's really difficult for the students to put that into context. So here, what we want to do is from a very young age, we want children to be able to read a book from the beginning to the end, to be able to understand that they're not reading an extract, they're not reading something that is assigned to them, but they're reading something that they want to enjoy. So our challenge in this, the teachers, the challenge for teachers everywhere out there, and it's not just for young learners, but also for teenage learners, and also for adult learners, is to make reading authentic again. How do we make reading authentic? When we read in our native language, that's authentic for us. So if my students read in Italian, that's their native tongue. They feel comfortable. They bring a book to school, maybe 1 in 100, and maybe they'll read it during their break, but they feel comfortable and they get involved in that story, but it's in their native tongue and it's not really helping them to improve their other languages, especially at a linguistics high school where you need to be able to perfect the languages. So if you're doing French, you need to read in French. If you're doing English, you need to read in English. If you're doing German, you need to also read in German. Obviously, the biggest problem here is teachers say to me, well, I buy graded readers and I push them towards graded readers. But graded readers are not correct, because graded readers every 2 pages have a question or have a set of questions or have a summary of something and ask you to answer. So it looks like homework rather than a book. We need to get students to read a book with no questions in it. And when they have difficulty understanding some of the words, we need them to be able to use a dictionary. Most students today don't know how to use a dictionary properly. And they don't understand how to pronounce words, because when they look at the dictionary, the phonic symbols are foreign to them because we don't teach it as we teach ABC. So, moving on, Wala says, the young learners discover the world through reading if they are reading from non-fiction stories, shaping their creativity in fiction stories. Exactly. So they can be reading non-fiction or fiction. Non-fiction is normally related to school, so they see it as too much like a school thing. Although sometimes some young students may be interested in reading a documentary book, a book on a documentary or something like that, which might be interesting. However, fiction stories allow them to imagine, allow them to go away into another world. So let's have a look at the building blocks of the language. We need to move away from just teaching grammar, just teaching vocabulary, just teaching spelling bees, or just teaching for the sake of teaching a language. We need the students to want to learn. So we need to be, rather than the lecturer teacher, we need to be the facilitator, the person who's going to guide them in the right direction. And they need to see us as their guides. They need to feel comfortable and say to us, you have given us too much homework. we aren't we can't cope with all the homework, with the maths and physics, etc., etc. Can you please help us to understand better, etc.? Remember that one of the basic important things that we are lacking in today's young generation is critical thinking skills. Okay, so, and if they don't have critical thinking skills, what adults will they be? They'll be adults that will just read something on social media and believe it. All those challenges on TikTok. How do students do that? How can they even imagine to do something like jumping in front of a car as a challenge, to take a clip to share it on TikTok or whatever? They are wild, and it means that they are not thinking. Their thinking caps are not on. I remember when I was 11 years old, and my English teacher, who came from Bombay, I think at the time, she used to say, "Put your thinking caps on and think before you speak." So this is what we need our students to do. So phonics, we need to teach phonics as a game. Phonics is where the sounds meet the symbols, where we explain how to say it. For example, cat. Cat is written in phonics, as you can see on the screen, in another way that is foreign to Italian students, for example, because if you say to them, spell cat the way they sound it, because in Italian it's a phonetic language, so they will probably spell it CHET, right? Because that's how they hear it. But we need to teach the phonics for English, because English, unfortunately, is not one language that was based on one historical tree of languages, but it comes from 4 or 5 different language trees and then was shaped over time into one vernacular language. And from the vernacular language, we then had to structure the whole grammar around it. And so we have same words that have different sounds, because like live and live come from 2 different language trees. So it's really important that we teach them phonics as a game, right? So we get them to create little phrases, like maybe 2 or 3 words. The cat sat on the mat, and you can get them to write, or maybe the white cat, and they can write the white cat, and they will learn the pronunciation. So fluency is where we get them to be able to put the phonics into sound, helping their pronunciation, which is really, really important. And they don't have to sound Australian, they don't have to sound American, they don't have to sound British. They just have to be able to pronounce the word correctly, because sometimes people pronounce the word incorrectly, and to a native speaker, we have no idea what they're saying, because our brain doesn't come from the same background that that person is speaking to us sometimes, and we don't understand it. So we need to make sure that the pronunciation is correct as English is spoken, as English is read and spoken. And then the fluency is how we get to put the phrases together. The cat sat on the mat. The next building block is teaching them to be creative, how to imagine, going a little bit further than just learning the tools, but putting that into fun and freedom, where they can actually say things like, what if the cat could fly, for example? Now, fly to the moon in this case. I made this up the other day. I was thinking, what would a young child think of? And I mean, at my age, it's really hard to imagine what a young child, and maybe some of the ladies and gentlemen here today can probably ask their young children, what would they imagine a cat or a dog or to do in a story? So what if the cat could fly to the moon? And I thought that's a really good image as well. So why don't we get them, once we've taught the building blocks, why don't we actually get them to see the image? Now, apart from digital tools, which there are many, but in this case, because we want them to use their own genius, say, their own creativity, what is really nice would be if they could actually draw on a piece of paper. use crayons or draw on the blackboard. Why not? Get them to come and draw on the blackboard and imagine what they could think of that is happening to the characters in the book that they're reading. So I thought that was quite fun. The cat that could fly to the moon. So why is choice important? This is something I get asked all the time. Not only in other professional training courses, but also at school. I sometimes say to the students, I want you to choose what would you like to do in the next lesson. Would you like to do a debate? Would you like to do a presentation? And the teachers say to me, oh, don't ask them to do something. Don't give them a choice. Then you'll have everyone doing something different. And I said, well, that is great. That would be really, really good. Because why force everyone to do exactly the same thing? In the final year, we also talk about women's rights, which are really important. Women's voting rights, for example, how did they come about? So we have to go back to historically, back to the women in the 1800s, etc. And we talk about it, but what I like them to do is to create their own research, to go out and have a look. And, they've come back with some really interesting novelty ideas and novelty authors that are even new to these topics. And they're able to present them in such a way that it makes me understand that sometimes we learn from our students and not just teach them. So just giving them information and telling them to prepare a presentation on that information is not enough. Allow them to be creative, go outside the box, or actually remove the box altogether. That's what Jim Baker used to say. He was a good friend of mine. He's passed away, but he used to say, get rid of the box. Don't even have the box in the room. So the choice helps them to build their own ownership. And as they do that, they're motivated to show you something. If they choose it, they want to show it to you. It means they own it and they are proud to share it with everyone. You have to also create that classroom environment where it's really important that they want to share that. Readers engage more when they choose what interests them. Choice also supports different levels and personalities. Now, I want to give you an example of what I did with the girls last year. So basically, we had this class of 19 girls with 10 different nationalities in the country, 10 different nationalities in the class. So I asked them to talk about something that they thought they could all have in common. And someone said, what about breakfast? Because it was like nearing the time for the school break, where sometimes they have like an extended breakfast. So they all agreed that they wanted to present how they have breakfast in their country. I gave them 2 weeks, and each group of 1 or 2 students they either worked together or worked separately, and they had to do their own research, find photographs and share particular recipes of that breakfast tradition and explain the tradition. They were so excited that they prepared presentations with 12 and 14 slides, which was amazing. And we all sat back, every one of us. I also sat amongst the students. We sat back and watched everyone do their presentation. They had shared it.
وقالت لي ان انا عايزك تشتغل في الورك سبيس وانا بحب الشقه يعني انا بحب اشغلكم عامه وان كنت.
Okay, so basically that's what they did, and we all enjoyed it. It was like watching a movie of different cultures. And at the end of that, when the bell rang and it was time to have a snack their morning snack, they were all asking each other, oh, can you bring me what you have for breakfast one day? Can you let us taste this and let us taste that? And for example, one girl was from Malta, and they have a sweet drink that's similar to Coca-Cola in the morning that has caffeine in it as well, but it's something that is made from juices, etc., and then it's fermented. So that was really interesting. Someone was saying, how could you have Coca-Cola in the morning? But it wasn't really Coca-Cola. It was just something that looked like a glass of Coca-Cola. Okay, so they choose the book from a series like Big Cat. Exactly. Yes, I agree. But it has to be the books that I will give you a link of books as well. It has to be a book that a native speaker would read, or a native a child in Australia, in England, or in the United States. I've actually concentrated more on Australia and United Kingdom. And you get, for example, a book for a 5-year-old. You can allow even an 8 and a 9-year-old, or even a 10-year-old to read that book. It's simply just in English, and it has no reference to language learning structures. So they feel like it's a book that they can read without having it associated with learning, because the learning will be automatic. So remember, before I was saying the teacher's role is to facilitate and to guide the students. Too often we get the teachers that instead of being the facilitators, they end up being the gatekeepers, the ones that say, oh, no, you can't do that, and no, you can't do that, and you have to do this, and you must do this, rather than just allow them to be themselves. I mean, what if they want to do a little play of the book that they've just read? Maybe 2 girls or 2 boys, or a group of children, maybe 2 or 3, have read the same book and they want to reenact it, maybe do a parody of it. Why not? I think that's also fun too. They can do it, and they don't even have to really dress up, but they can create a mask, draw a mask and put it on, and they can reenact a part of the story, or make the story short into something that gives the message of what the book was trying to say. So as Donalyn Miller says, choice is the heartbeat of motivation. So when we choose something, we are motivated to do it. If it's given to us and forced upon us, we are not as motivated to do that. We are not as motivated to eat something if I'm forced to eat it, forced to take it. And animals are the same, right? My friend's dog was not well, and we had to give her a pill. And every time she tasted the pill, she would spit it out. So what did we do? We decided to crush the pill and mix it in to a puree of fruits, because she likes fruits, and she ate it and didn't notice. So when you're forced to do something, you don't want to do it. But when you do something that you like, you are motivated to do it because it's something that you choose to like it. So, and also another thing that's important is when learners choose, they connect. When they choose to read something about another culture, or when they choose to create an expression, to be creative and use their imagination and have a creative expression on what they want to present or what they want to do, that is when we see their inspiration. And basically what we're asking them to do is to be inspired and use their imagination, like the cat flying to the moon, for example. Let the learners respond how they feel about reading, how they felt about reading that book. Not just get them to repeat lines of the book. That's sometimes what we have to do even in senior high school, because they need to remember some of the classics. So that's different. But in the earlier years, we should get them to not just repeat the story, maybe be creative about the story, take it one step further. Creativity gives them the confidence that they need to be able to speak in that second language as well. So remember that that's really important. Now, why is learning language through reading important? Because it's when we read that we understand how the language flows together, how phrases put together are creating an image. This is what is lacking when someone just learns English and they're very good at grammar, very good at vocabulary, very good at word order, but putting phrases together that are just phrases that have no overall meaning, that have no logic, doesn't mean that that's perfect. It could also mean that whoever is reading can't understand what was the purpose of what you have written. So the purpose of what people write and what students say or learn to speak and learn to read is important that whoever is listening or reading can see that image in their heads. I think that that's something that we have probably put too much aside, that we expect when we give a graded reader, we just expect answers to be repeated exactly as they were in the text, rather than tell the story, rather than give me the image. For example, Frankenstein, right? Frankenstein is a very deep and meaningful book. It has a lot of themes that go way beyond a mad scientist and a monster. So, and also Mary Shelley was a famous, was a person that put together this book that became so famous, but there is so much behind it. And when students just repeat what they say and they keep calling the monster, they're not really understanding the story, the storyline. The monster was a being created, brought to life, and then abandoned. So it's like children being abandoned. And when children can understand this, when they can see that the monster was retaliating because, or the creature that had been created by Frankenstein was then abandoned by the creator and had to fend for himself, teach himself. When children can understand this, or when students can understand there's more than just a story, they then understand the interpretation, the meaning, and the themes and the goals that the author was trying to get across. So expression also makes the language real and memorable. As the girls that presented the breakfast around the world last year, which was really, I'd never done anything like that before. I thought it was really interesting. Normally we just teach like what they have English breakfast and compare it to Americans or whatever, but we never had different cultures like from India, from Ghana, from Ukraine, from Malta. It was amazing. It was just amazing to see how all these different cultures, and there was not one Italian girl that was in that class. So that was really, really amazing for me, and it was really wonderful. And they all felt creatively free, that they could do whatever they wanted, and they really worked hard and showed initiative and creativity. And you know what? They spoke better than they ever would have if we had given them a test to prepare and do a speaking test, for example. They would never have done as well because they would have panicked. Whereas this was simple, easy. There was no test related, no forced study. So they did it for themselves. Okay, let's go on. Now, what I've done in this presentation is also I like to give you some examples of what you can do in class, because a lot of the times the teachers that come to the professional training courses with Dr. Nellie, for example, they're always saying, well, what can we use? What can we actually use in class if it doesn't relate to just using something digital? Because maybe in some classrooms, we don't want to use the digital board all the time. We don't want them to be on their tablets or on their phones. We want them to use the pen and pencil. I haven't even got one here. Anyway, we want them to be able to use their hands and their creative abilities. So book portraits. What's a book portrait? Book portrait is making a drawing of what they think the book really means. Now, it could be little, it could be a one page, an A4 page, where they could have the storyline in a timeline, for example, and little pictures that explain where the story goes, like Little Red Riding Hood starts off with a basket, meets the wolf in the forest, and then gets to her grandmother who's dressed up as a wolf, and then has to be able to tell the story. So a book portrait, or maybe getting a character that they liked in that story and imagining what that character would look like in their creative minds. Story freeze frames, which is really good. Now, I've got all the information of this in the handout that I think Esdra has been sharing with you. So you will be able to have access to all of this material. Groups act out the moments silently and the others have to guess. That's also really, really good fun. So they have to mime it rather than just speak it, but they have to mime it in English. So that's really cool too, really cute. And they have to really think. And sometimes they prefer that than anything else. So they could mime, for example, Red Riding Hood. Character interviews. So a character interview, you could have a group. We did this with an e-twinning project where they pretended to be politicians in the European Parliament, and they interviewed each other. So we had the journalist and the person pretending to be a politician, and they were so good because their English was only B1 level, but they had to say things like, why isn't there enough hot water when we go and get our cup of tea in the break? There's not enough hot water, so the machine runs out and we can't get a cup of tea. And, you know, the politician would have to find an answer to that. So it's really, really nice to have students pretend to be journalists and someone pretending to be part of the character of the story, and then tell their view of the story. They can even make it up. It doesn't have to be real to the book. They can make it up as they go along, as long as they're using the language. Alternative endings, which is the what if. So what if the cat could fly to the moon? So they're using the language plus imagination together, and then they can draw it or act it or write a new story about it. So change the ending altogether. What if Romeo and Juliet actually got married, had children, and their children are alive today, and we can go and visit them in Verona? Of course, that didn't happen, but why not? Why not have a parody of it, or why not change the ending to make it more fun? Book reviews. Now, book reviews don't have to be the typical book review. You can ask them to even invent their own book review. So they could do anything like maybe create an image of the book and maybe write a list of words that were new. They can say, in this book, I learned 10 new words. What is important is, I looked for it before. I think it's called Disney Pocket English Dictionary. And it's really cool because it's got images. So students would look up words, and there's images and phrases, that example phrases that they can create or understand the word, the meaning of the word. So they can even do a book review with a list of vocabulary that's new, and they can maybe do a spelling bee on it, or maybe pronounce it and show others how to pronounce those words. Or maybe even use writing, maybe write about it, write something that they want to write about the book and say, I didn't really enjoy it because I didn't understand it, or there are too many things in it, etc., etc. They can present it as a drama play. So I had to teach many years ago Virgil. in English, and I hadn't even read it in Italian. So I hadn't even read it in English, and I hadn't even read it in Italian. But I was given this class, and we had 1 week to put a Virgil reenactment on show for their family and friends for Saturday. It was called the National Language Week, and I got a group of English students, and their teacher asked us to do Virgil. So I had to stay up nearly 12 hours one day to read all of Virgil, understand it because it's a classic and I had never studied it at school. So it was really new to me. And the girls and the girls and boys in my class decided to do a parody of it. So they did it with as if they were young boys and girls at the park or walking down the city square that they do in Italy. On their little motor scooters, and so they had Hal was having to go to do things that their parents wanted them to do. Anyway, they did a parody on it. It was so good that we actually won a prize for it, and it's been repeated by that high school over and over again because they really liked it. So reenacting doesn't mean doing it exactly the way it is, but taking the ideas and changing them around, making them fun to be. A parody means create a comedy out of it, for example. Is that all clear? Does everyone understand that? They can be naughty and haughty. Yes, they can as well. Role plays, yes. I think children love acting and we should push it as much as possible because by acting, it means that by acting in that language, they are in English, for example, they are maturing their language communication as well. So that's very important. I hope that I'm not taking too much time. Just saw the time, but I will push it along. So imagination, where stories grow wings. Imagination turns reading into dreaming. I think spoken enough. Sparks creativity, empathy, and curiosity. So when you read about someone else's culture, you learn about that culture. When we read and understood about Ghana, what they ate for breakfast, we had fun understanding that someone else had breakfast really different to what we even imagined. Helps learners to visualize language as well. That's really, really what I was saying before in communication. When we communicate, we are in any language, we are trying to get a message across. That message is also the way someone interprets that message. Because Italian is not my native language, I have a lot of difficulty sometimes getting the message across in Italian if it's not clear in my own head. So I need to get it clear in my head first before I can get it across. So, and I always tell my students, don't be afraid of making mistakes because it's when you make mistakes that you actually learn something new. And my father taught me something very important when I was little, is that you never stop learning, because I asked him that I wanted to finish all my homework so I wouldn't have to do homework for the rest of the year. And he said to me, oh no, he said, you'll be doing homework all your life because learning never stops. And that's true. So it builds bridges between reality and possibility. So we also have to teach children. And recently Canva, I don't know how many of you use Canva. This presentation is on Canva. Canva had their keynote just about a couple of weeks ago, and their keynote was based on imagination, that without imagination we don't have creation for the future. And that is so true. So we need to go back and imagine, because we are here today because someone imagined the washing machine, for example. Someone imagined the toaster. Someone imagined the oven to cook in. And it doesn't matter how way back in history it was, someone had to imagine a way to cook differently than just on the open fire. So that's why today we have ovens, we have microwave, etc., etc. So imagination is important for our future generations, for them to be able to imagine what the future can do, what they can do, what they can do in the future, and they can offer us in their future. So the what if questions, this is also, these are also the classroom ideas to spark off imagination. The what if is a really good one. A lot of teachers use that already. I didn't invent it, but it's a really good one. What if this happened? What if that happened? Draw the unseen. So sometimes in the story there are things that are happening in the background that you don't see it, but maybe they'll say, oh, he earlier arrived on his horse, now he's here. So we want to imagine what the horse riding was like, for example, what the cart looks like. Story mashups, mix up Romeo and Juliet with a current soap opera, like, I don't know, Beauty and the Beast or something, and put them together. So story mashup, and recreate new characters out of the blue. Dream journals, any type of journal that they can write in the second language, in English or the other language that they need, is really important. A journal where they can write down what they wish that they had done that day, or what they dream of doing tomorrow or another day or next week, or what they would like their teachers to do or to show them. And then maybe have the courage every now and again to put that thought in a suggestion box, anonymous suggestion box, so that maybe the teacher can bring the class together on understanding what each one wants. Imagination corners. So you could also have a little corner in your classroom, especially for young learners, where we tend to have areas in the room like the reading corner, the maybe even the naughty corner. They still have that, the naughty corner, where naughty boys and girls get to go and sit for like 5 minutes and they have to be very quiet. Things like that, or a reflection corner as well. Reflection is so important. We need to teach how important reflection is. Let's go on. Okay, so reading the world through stories. I've spoken enough about this. When imagination leaps, stories cross borders. So what I mean by that is that the stories where we learn about other cultures is really important, not just from a textbook. Those little stories in textbooks, English textbooks, is not enough. But it's a start. It's better than nothing. But stories open windows into other worlds. We only learn about it when we actually read a book of how another culture goes to school or whatever. When my grandmother was little, they had to walk 8 kilometres to school. So they had to get up really early and walk a long distance to get to school. Build empathy and global awareness. This is something that's missing. We are missing this today. Protesting is not a method of empathy. I just want to throw it out there just to say that empathy is different. Empathy is understanding our fellow humans, our fellow diverse cultural human beings, and understanding that they have a right to whatever we have rights to, that we are the same, that we're the same flesh and blood. Someone once said, if you were to peel off the skin of a human, we've all got everything in the same place, more or less. So connect language to real people and places. This is really important too. Not just talk about it, but actually make it happen. Why do Italians eat spaghetti, for example? Reading becomes a journey of discovery. This is really, really important, that reading takes time to read from the beginning to the end of the book, and it is a journey of discovering new words, new ways of saying things, new ideas, new cultures, and creating excitement and fun in the students. We want them to be happy to learn. We want them to want to come to school. They want to go to school when they're at kindergarten and then in grade 1, and then like something happens and they don't want to go to school anymore. So we need to get them motivated all over again. So what's the teacher's role again here? Let's go over it. The guide, mentor, and literacy coach. Because the teacher is really the only one that knows how to pronounce correctly or how to read the phonics symbols in the dictionary. So he or she has to be the person that is able to help the students understand the literacy. Create a safe and curious space for reading. Be a model reader, share your own stories, or if you give them, for example, a 1 hour a week of reading, you can read as well, even though students need to come up and maybe ask you words or something like that. But you can also read, show them that you are reading. Why not? Guide choices, don't dictate them. Dictating has always been the wrong thing. If you tell people to do something, that's when they don't do it. Support fluency, creativity, and reflection. Celebrate every step. Doesn't matter how big or how small it is, celebrate it every time that they come up and say the word correctly. You know, I went to see Elvis Presley live, right? So, wow, you did that correctly. So, you know, just be happy with it. Don't correct all the time. This correcting all the time is a really bad habit. So, practical ideas again and activities. So, phonics play, sound hunts, rhyming races, fluency fun, echo reading, readers theatre, choice boards, learners pick the follow-up tasks, sharing, book talks, book fairs. Book fairs is also cute. They actually play like, you know, they're at a fair. Imagination, where the story twists and the character art as well is important in imagination. So these are practical ideas that you can do in any class. You don't need any technology. You just need their imagination and their motivation. Measuring success. So we need to take another look. There's a book called Hack Assessment, I think it's called. Anyway, what's really important is that today we need to change the way we assess our students. We need to assess them for what they do rather than how they do it, the way that we want them to do it. If we create a rubric, now it's okay for professional teachers in a professional development course, we need a rubric. We need to be able to follow. All the adults need to be able to understand what we're doing. But young learners, you can't force them to fall into a rubric because everyone is different. So we have to celebrate them for what they are and maybe use that that standard of measurement for ourselves to say, very good, whatever, right? And always be positive rather than any negative. So success is joy, curiosity, and confidence. So if you see them displaying these, that's success, right? Celebrate their progress, not perfection. Reading equals smile. So when they are growing in their reading capacity, they will smile, they will be happy, they will be confident children, and that's what we're looking for. Look for voice, choice, and engagement and motivation. Key takeaways. So from today, what are our key takeaways? That reading is a journey, not a task. Choice gives power and purpose. Imagination turns stories into dreams. Teachers are not mentors. Sorry, teachers are mentors, not monitors. So they're not monitoring the class, but they are mentoring the class. Success is measured in smiles, not in, I can't even read what I wrote down there, but not in,
Scores.
thank you.
Yeah, score.
I was thinking, what did I write under there? I can't even remember. Yes, they're not scores. Exactly. We don't want to give them numbers. The minute we give them numbers, we force them into a category of thinking that they have a value, on their head. We don't want them to do that. They're not They're not pawns that we exchange for money or for numbers. They are children, human beings that need to be nurtured and guided to their futures. Not much more to go. So I'm not going to read this because this is on the presentation, but what we have done today is we've taken an idea of the importance of reading for young children, and we have we want them to keep it up. Exactly. We want them to keep it up and enjoy the process. We want our children to be able to communicate confidently in that second language. They don't have to be embarrassed. They don't have to feel that someone is going to laugh at them because they say the word wrongly. I mean, sometimes we can laugh at ourselves, but allow each student to laugh at themselves right before the next person does, but help them throughout, because if we guide them and let they understand how to learn pronunciation on their own, they won't ever be embarrassed. So let me see. I think I had written something for the end, but I can't find it now. Key takeaways, we did that. Okay, so basically we want them to grow up and be the authors of their own imagination, be the authors of their own lives, and to understand and be empathetic with the world around them. They have to understand that we are not different people because we have different foods on the table, or because we have different ways of celebrating particular events. Every one of us has a right to celebrate those events. I dragged my husband all the way to a circumcision event of a little boy, all the way to Sofia in in Macedonia about 5 years ago, and he was really, like his eyes open, because it's another culture and they do things that they believe in. But we got up and danced with them, we ate with them, we were happy for them, and we participated in an event that we don't do. But it didn't mean that we can't participate in someone else's events. Why not? That's all part of being and understanding and believing in someone else's culture as well. So let me go on. We have question time. That's, you've already learned about me. Thank you everyone for being here today. And now we have some question and answer time, if anyone has any answers.
So thank you very much, dear Nives, for such a wonderful and insightful session today. I'm really excited today, and I'm sure that all participants are the same feeling. If you have any questions regarding our topic today, you can ask Nives. She has a wonderful background. Yeah, yes. So they are thanking you for such a fruitful session.
Thank you everyone.
Yes, I'd like to share, if you can see my screen. Can you see me? Yes. I like actually the idea of uh so okay, just 1 minute. I would
Well,
like
I'll stop sharing.
okay. I'd like to show
Here we
you.
go.
Yes. So I like the idea of book portrait, and this is one of um
Wow,
yes.
I love it. I love it.
So yeah, it made of cartoon, and you will find such the students try to create things regarding the solar system, and how they'd like to be an astronauts. So it was amazing, and I like this idea, and it's actually um from limited resources, so it is not expensive, just cartoon and some colors. You can ask your students to do so. And I like this idea so much.
That is so beautiful. I really, really like that. I did in, I think, 2015, I did TEYL teaching young learners
Mhm.
and I did 2 projects, one with babies from 3 years old to 5 years old, And then I did another project with elementary school children. All my work that I used in those lessons is available on SlideShare. And we did things where we used cardboard. They did color. They did the shapes. They drew the shapes. And then they coloured them in, and we did not crossword puzzles, sorry, jigsaw puzzles, where they drew their designs, and then they put them on cardboard like that, and then cut them up and put them together. It was really good. So children are very, very creative if we allow them to be creative.
Yes, exactly. And they can use the new vocabulary that they have learned through the stories that they are studying in these new stories related to them. It's gonna be helpful for them and supportive. We have here some questions from Najat. She asked, what time is okay for kids to start reading?
I would get them to start reading. Hang on a minute. There we go. I can't see the question. I would get them to start reading from very early ages and with very simple books. In the material that I've provided today, there's about 5 or 6 links where native speakers actually go to buy the books for their children. And I think and believe that if you have like a 5-year-old child, look for a 4-year-old book that's for a 4-year-old native speaker, and then just help your child or those children to work through the book slowly using a dictionary, and then they can learn the phonetics as they go along. They should learn to read from as early as possible, because that is the only way that they really enjoy the language. Unfortunately, for example, languages like French in Italy, for example, French, German, Spanish get selected at high school. So they haven't learned from a young age, and at high school there's no time to pressure them into reading in Spanish, for example, but it's very, very important.
So that's amazing. That's great. Okay.
Are there any, I've lost where is it? Here. Oh, here's the chat. I moved it and I missed the chat. Okay. Pictorial stories also. Picture stories are good. The only thing is that if there's no writing on the stories, they're not really learning enough. But they can be telling you the story. They can be imagining what the story is. Why not?
So
I imagine they would have to be a bit older.
that's great. So Nives actually will share the resources, and I will share all of the resources and the recordings on the TEYL SIG Facebook page. So please stay tuned on this page, and there will be a surprise beyond the certificate. There is a big surprise for all attendees, but please fill in the evaluation form so that I can reach to your emails and send to you. Yes, it's gonna be a package of wonderful books regarding teaching how to teach series. So I will send to you all of the series. Okay, but please fill in the evaluation form so that I can reach to your emails. Thank you. Actually, again, I would like to express our heartfelt appreciation to Nives Torresi again, and for her valuable insights, practical strategies, and inspiring perspectives.
Thank you.
Yes, you enriched us actually with understanding and giving us new ideas that could take back to our classroom and communities. Thank you for supporting all teachers with such wonderful ideas. And I would like also to thank Dr. Wala for standing on my side, standing by my side. Thank you, Dr. Wala, for being there.
Yes.
Thank you, all participants, for your active engagement and your thoughtful questions, positive energy throughout the session. Actually, your enthusiasm are keep our TEYL community thriving and growing. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you for your appreciation. I do appreciate all the wonderful things that you do. today with us. Thank you very much. If you have
I,
anything, yes?
oh, go on. I just want to answer someone
Yeah.
in the chat asked, is it okay to use translation for second language learners if they are very young learners? Yes, definitely. I think that that's important to make sure that they feel comfortable with that second language so that their first language is alongside helping them all the way through, because they need that. We can't just pretend that it doesn't exist. Their first language is always going to be their first language. So yes, use translations or translate words and allow them to imagine, predict also what may be happening next. Prediction is also very important in language learning. So yes, thank you again, everyone. And if you have any other questions, please go ahead and add them in also in the Facebook page, and I will be more than happy to answer there as well.
So if the link is not working, so I will send to you the link again so that you can fill in the form. That's going to be helpful for us. Yes. Okay. There is here while we are teaching young learners reading, then is very important not to translate anything and using different gestures instead of translating. Yes, this completely yes, yes, I agree with her. Um, Thank you, Nabila. Thank you, Munajat. Thank you very much for your participation today. I do appreciate all of your wonderful uh, appreciation and activation with us. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nives. Oh,
Ah,
so there's a yes. We have a question. How can we deal in a reading task with different group? I mean, one of my class has 4 good students while the others have a low level of English. Shall I try differentiate instructions?
yeah, well, definitely differentiated instructions, but try also getting them to remember when I said the teacher is the guide. It's also important that the teacher guides them to a level that they can read. So hypothetically, if you have a student that's not very good at language acquisition, and maybe they are 9 or 10 years old, give them a 5-year-old book to read, or even a picture book to read, where you ask them to maybe imagine what is happening in their native language and then ask them to try and tell that in English. So they have to feel confident. Remember, what we want them to be is confident learners, confident readers, confident enough to be able to use that second language. So while they can write what they think the images are telling them in their native language, then they can use that as a backup to say, well, in English, and say what they think. And even if it's not fantastic English, just be very proud of them and congratulate them for making that effort. But definitely differentiated books and differentiated instructions always. I do that all the time, even for high school students that should all be B2, but sometimes they're not. So yeah, definitely. Thank you for coming,
Thank you.
Uzbekistan.
Thank you.
Teacher
Thank you.
Navruz.
Thank you,
Yeah, thank
teacher
you
Navruz.
everyone.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. So Wala says that she give them support to move forward. Yes, exactly. And yes, she might use also the choice board. So just asking them to choose if they would like to draw, if they'd like to sing, if you'd like. So it could be different according to their different learning styles. So gonna be helpful for them too.
Singing, I hadn't mentioned that, but that's really important too,
Yeah.
because with the babies we did nursery rhymes
Yep.
in English, and they were fantastic. They kept, because there was a nursery rhyme, they sang it along, and they loved it. So yeah, anything, singing, whatever they feel comfortable, they have to be the important part of the class,
Yes.
of the learning journey, because we're teachers, we already know it, so we don't have to learn again, but we have to help them and guide them and help them find their own journey, their own path
Yes,
to the
exactly.
future.
Yes, it's about believing them. So if you just let them that you are believing them, so you will find how the magic they can do, and the wonders they can show us. Yes.
Yeah. Good. There's one more question. How do you deal with children who are shy or refuse to speak? Those children will no longer be shy or refuse to speak if you give them a choice to do
Mhm.
what they want to do. Maybe they just want to create an image and explain that image. Whatever they want to do, they have to feel comfortable with it because they are shy and refuse to speak only because they are embarrassed, because they
Yeah.
believe everyone will make fun of them. So you have to change the tactics in the classroom, make sure that the environment is welcoming to everyone.
Yeah, building rapport could be helpful too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. This was an amazing event. Thank you very
Yes,
much,
yes,
Ezra.
exactly. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you, Navis, for such wonderful ideas and strategies that you shared with of wonderful participants. Thank you. Yes, of course, teachers should always have choices to pupils during the lesson. Exactly, yes. Yes,
Exactly. Very
yes.
good, Number. That's perfect. Yeah.
Yes, I do agree with you. So thank you very much and see you inshallah with our upcoming events, and I'm really happy to having you today. So yes, I'd like to say good night to all of you.
Thank you so much for
Okay,
fruitful
thank,
session.
thank you,
Thank
Nibis.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
Nibis.
you.
I'm
Thank
Okay.
really
you.
happy to see you too again.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Inshallah, we will participate as a session maker also, like a teacher in the
Thank
future.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you. Yes, and I'd love
okay,
to hear
yeah.
from all of you too.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I look up Navi Torresi, yeah,
Ye-
today.
yes.
Oh,
Today is our, yeah. I really
thank
look
you.
up, and so good luck for your
Yes.
future professional work. And so,
Thank you.
and we wait for again fruitful sessions from you.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm more than
Yes.
happy.
Yes, we are looking
yeah,
forward. Yes. Future events. Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
yeah.
Yeah. Ha-
Okay,
have a
okay,
nice day.
thank
Okay.
you.
Have
Thank
a
you.
nice day.
Thank
Yeah,
you very
me
much.
too.
Yes.
Happy.
Yeah,
Happy to
okay.
be here and happy for anything in the future. Thank
Yes.
you, everyone.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you. It was a very useful webinar. We've
Yeah.
learned a lot.
Thank you,
Thank-
dear. I do appreciate it.
And I'm looking forward to finding out more about your next events.
Of course, of course. In 2026, so we will have wonderful events, and there are lots of surprises. So stay
Thank
tuned. The
you.
TEYL SIG Facebook group, and I will contact you by email. So thank you very
Thank
much for
you.
your joining today.
Thank you. It was great. It was great to know that there are solutions for both levels of English, both advanced and beginner students.
Exactly. Yes.
And we need this. We
Yes.
need to keep all informed. We need to keep all focused to learning English and ready for everything.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
And of
Agree.
course, to adapt to their age and level of English and
Oh,
their
yes.
personality as well.
Yeah. Of course.
Someone is asking for a group photo, so I think that's a good idea.
Yes.
Um,
Okay.
if everyone would like to turn on their cameras or at least
Yes,
have
if you
their
could,
image,
yes, turn on your
yeah.
cameras, so it's gonna be
Mine
great.
doesn't work, unfortunately, because of the laptop, but I have my profile picture.
Yes, that's all
Yeah, it's
right.
okay.
It's quite accurate.
Yeah, so that's great.
Okay, we
Okay.
have the gallery open, so
Mm-hmm.
Sophia,
let's
Yo, that's amazing that I can see you. Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So wonderful teachers around the world. How lucky we are.
Yes, we are. We are very lucky. Okay, I took a screenshot. So if anyone else wants to take one now, I think everyone is on the screen. That some people have already left, but that's okay. If you want to take, I've got one, and I will add it. I will send it to Ezra.
Yes,
She
I
can
got
add it.
one too. So yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you, everyone. It was amazing, and I look forward to joining you guys again.
Yeah, of course. So see you. Good night. Bye-bye.
Ciao from
Goodbye.
Italy.
Yeah. Ciao.
Good night. Bye.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Bye.
night.
You want?